we love, but still Britannia rules the waves. In joyful strains and let us sing advance Australia fair, while other nations of the globe behold us from afar. We'll rise to high renown and shine like a glorious southern star. From England's royal and fatherland, Scotia and air and fair, let it all combine with heart and hand to advance Australia fair. In joyful strains and let us sing advance Australia fair. Should foreign foe ever side our coast or dare our foot to land, we'll rouse to arms like sires of yore to guard our native strand. Britannia then shall surely know, though oceans roll between her sons in fair Australia's land, still keep their courage green. In joyful strains then let us sing advance Australia fair. Australia's sons, let us rejoice, for we are young and free. With golden soil and wealth before our home is goodbye sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty rich and rare. In history's page let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains and let us sing advance Australia fair. The Uncuckables.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Uncuckables for another week. I hope you like the new countdown music, but I did probably mix it a bit too loud, but it started with a bang. The voice you heard was my Thursday night regular, James Fox Higgins. How are you?
Very well, mate. Yeah, that was loud.
Yeah, it was. Oh, I did.
Rock and roll,
I did, because normally in the software program I have to increase the volume of all our clips, but it seemed you already mixed that to the required sound. But yeah, everyone.
Yeah, I have a policy of mastering everything at level 11.
Yep, but at least it started with a blast.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And of course, I'm Tim Wilms, editor and chief of The Unshackled. I'm joined in the studio by not Dave, but Mark Moncrieff, who co-hosts with David Hiscock the Melbourne Traditionalists podcast. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, and thank you for inviting me on.
Yeah, people have heard your voice, but they haven't seen your face.
Oh, well, it's quite a shock, but they'll recover.
Some very rude person has said Dave has aged overnight in the comments. So there you go. There's you guys, you definitely could be brothers.
Dave uses a lot of beauty products, and he looks a
lot
younger than he really is. You know?
Yeah,
you would never guess.
He's got that vibe about him.
You'd never guess he was 60.
And we did start on time tonight, which is Dave late to your recordings? Obviously, it's a podcast.
Well, we don't have a regular time that we have to go to air, so it's a little bit more flexible.
But say if you agree on a certain time, will Dave get there on time?
Actually, he's generally been pretty good.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, the difference, I think, is that Tim runs his operations like a great fascist leader. So, we've all got to lock in.
Oh, as do you, James. Sometimes is it fair to call you the director of Rational Rise or the dictator of Rational Rise?
I prefer dictator. I think it has a better ring to it. Sure.
And your social network, championsofthelight.com.
Champions of the Light.
Yeah, yep. What's your title for that?
Oh, I'm Pontifex Maximus there. We have a Kaiser and a Legate, and they're not me. But yeah, I'm the Pontifex Maximus.
Now, we are not on D Live tonight. Well, if you watched my WilmsFront episode last night, there was 2 false starts because the software wouldn't stream at all to YouTube or D Live, but it is streaming to YouTube, and I've got Entropy working tonight, so I've put the link into the chat, which is a YouTube enhanced software. You can come on over, ask us a question, or send us through a super chat. Now, we discussed the poll question before the show, because we're going to talk about the how would you describe the pigtail girl, the Swedish girl?
How would I describe her? Abhorrent, like one of the bad characters from the Grimm's fairy tales, like inverted Hansel, Gretel rather, from Hansel and Gretel. She'll probably be Hansel soon enough.
So the poll question is: should on this stream tonight should we show the horrid cartoon of Gretel that some evil toxic masculinity oil company made?
Well, I vote no. Porn is degenerate, even if it's cartoon, anime porn. Anime porn's probably especially degenerate.
Yes, maybe that's why the Japanese have been in recession for 25 years and they're not having children, and they're falling in love with robots and literally e-girls.
I'll tell you why the Japanese have become a degenerate nation. It's because they gave up on this great history.
Yes, they did.
Yeah. So that's a sad thing.
Mm.
No, I'm not a weeb.
As we know now, the Chinese, they're not just getting their historical revenge on us in the West, but they're on the Japs as well.
Yeah, they gave them mass colds. Yep.
And
revenge is sweet.
Their Olympics might be cancelled.
Boo-hoo. That's a shame.
So somebody said today that the Olympics possibly being cancelled, it does mean that the International Olympic Committee, they don't have to make a decision on trans athletes.
They don't have to make a decision?
Yeah, if there's no Olympics.
That's just palming it off, is it? For somebody else to deal with the icky stuff?
Well, kicking the can down the road.
Yeah. How cowardly, you know? It's time to say no to men parading as women in women's sports.
Well, the ancient Greek Olympic Games, it was men only, or women, they weren't even allowed to be spectators.
That's right.
Well, one step at a time, Tim. Slow down, you fascist. Just one step at a time. Let's just get the men dressed as women out first. But yeah, I hear you.
Well, I know that in Saudi Arabia, they still have that practice with their sports stadiums when they're not used for beheadings. They're male only, both on the field and in the stands as well.
Well, you know, they can't be wrong about everything, can they? That's all I'll say.
They're pretty evil.
Well, there's a difference between evil and wrong, isn't there? It's a subtle difference.
Yes, it is true. It is true. It is a subtle difference, but it is a difference.
One of the commenters saying Tim's statements seem to be making awkward moments. That's because James and Mark are reacting awkwardly. My statements are fine.
Nice deflection there. I think you just walked into a trap, Tim. I think he was setting you up. It's a trap. So, what have we got tonight?
We've all got our toilet paper.
I think I have enough. I don't plan on eating any Mexican meals in the near future, or Chinese for that matter. So I don't see any need for excessive amounts of toilet paper.
Don't forget...
I seem to be alone in that. Australia seems to think they need excessive amounts of toilet paper.
I don't know. This started. What is it on the weekend that supermarket shelves were empty of toilet paper. This is because of the coronavirus fears. Because we've been told to prepare for a possible pandemic, and well, just look at the week's end. We've had 2 deaths in Australia from coronavirus, including one last night.
Don't you mean 2 million?
Yes. Everyone's acting like it's the 2 deaths equals 2 million.
I thought it was 2 gorillion.
Oh, who
Maybe
knows?
history will. Well, we have to consult history in 100 years' time and see. But yeah, it's as always, the mainstream media are selling you panic while at the same time telling you not to panic. And it's literally so. Like I walked into a petrol station the other day and I saw on the cover of one of the bullshit rags, I never remember the names of them, I don't care. They're just lie, Pulp Fiction lies. But the 2 headlines on the front page were quarantine zone. And I think it was talking about whatever's going on in Italy in huge letters, quarantine zone. And then a smaller headline below it, don't panic. And then the newspaper next to it said, the nation needs you. Spend up to avoid the corona recession. And it's just like, they're just such fucking liars. It's just a common cold, It's like it's spreading fast. It's just a variant of a common cold. And the 2 deaths in Australia, one was a 70 or 8-year-old man and the other one was a 98-year-old woman. It's going to kill the oldies like the common cold always has. I will be very surprised if this is much bigger than a jacked up flu. But, I won't put money on that. I'll still prepare.
So what you're saying is that it kills the sick and the weak. That's what a lot of people have been concluding.
The evidence seems to be pointing towards that, and what doesn't kill the sick and the weak? It's the sick and the weak who get wiped out. That's how it's always been. So don't be sick and weak.
Yeah,
that's the main advice.
It seems like a very discriminatory virus. Then we thought it was racist initially. Now it's just it's targeting vulnerable people.
Yeah. So if you soon it's going to be that they'll take that thought you've had there, which is right, think Tim, and they'll extrapolate it into if you lift weights and you're physically strong and healthy and you eat your vitamins, then you're obviously racist. And well, they're already saying that, aren't they? So yeah, but the strength is weakness, weakness is strength, and you're a bigot if you don't die equally from coronavirus as the old and infirmed.
Well, I guess that's we've been told what we have to do. Thank you, James. I was a bit confused about what I should do, but now you've spelt it out. So this is my first and I guess last appearance here.
It's been good having you, but it's time to die, bigot.
Yeah. I would like to last maybe the rest of the show, if that's all right.
Well, I think there is still a residual of corona here. When it was 2 weeks ago, Dia Beltran was here to help me moderate my interview with Trump supporting drag queen Kitty Demure, and Dia had to constantly exit the room to cough, and we could all hear her.
Wow. So Dia's the hub in the Australian alt media world for corona infection.
She's still alive though. She was on her weekly live stream last night.
This is why I do everything by remote. I actually live in an underground bunker. I've never confessed this before, but I'm 40 feet underground in a hermetically sealed and constantly disinfected bunker. So this shit ain't gonna touch me.
I really wish I'd taken that precaution now.
Yeah. 2020 hindsight, right?
Well, it is the year for it.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no room for this. Hindsight begins in 2020 because there's no such thing anymore as 2020 vision. And I was just reminded this week coming up in April, it's the anniversary of Kevin Rudd's 2008-2020 summit. I doubt that all those, meeting of the minds, including Kate Blanchett. Oh, I wonder what Australia's going to be like in 2020. Australians are going to go mad, and to save themselves from a new strand of the flu, they're going to buy up the nation's toilet paper supply in 48 hours.
Yeah, genius level thinking, Australia. Genius.
Yeah, and I wonder if Kevin Rudd thought that in 2020, the pinnacle of his media appearances in this year would be doing a feature with a YouTuber called Friendly Geordies.
Did he do that? Oh, wow.
Yes.
Man, that guy's really taken off, hasn't he? Old Geordie.
And he's basically not hiding the fact anymore. Yeah, I'm a Labour shill.
Yeah.
I mean, he did the interview with Kevin Rudd in a Kevin 07 t-shirt.
Oh, really? Wow. Yeah. And was he just licking his butt the whole time?
I didn't watch it.
Really? That's comedy gold.
I can't even watch Q&A anymore.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
Yeah, I remember the last one I saw in full, or for more than 10-15 minutes, was the infamous feminist final solution episode to the patriarchy question, where I'd actually
made me watch that. You made me watch it. That was like, I would have rather put hot coals in my eyeballs, I think, than watch that.
Oh, it totally ruined my day. I'd had a great day, and then I came home and it just completely ruined it.
Yeah.
But that's probably what she wanted, Mona Ethaway and the other panelists.
Yeah. The trick is to, I guess, learn to take some perverse humor in the insanity of clown world, or as someone has said in the comments here, the coming piss earth that we live in. It's, just laugh as the House of Cards crumbles. It's morbidly funny if you think about it.
Yeah. What if I spill this water and I don't have any paper products to wipe it with? Have they thought about that?
Well, that's the thing. There's a cascade effect, because as the toilet paper runs out, people are going to be buying up the paper towels next. They'll.
That's happening.
Yeah. People are just going to say, hang it, I need to wipe my butt with something, and it might as well be sandpaper. So they'll buy the paper towels, and then the wet wipes will all be gone. And then when everyone's sitting in their own filth, maybe Australia will be enough discomfort to stand up and do something about the real problems, not just the crazy perceived problems of a phony pandemic.
People in the comments are saying, let Dave speak. You're allowed to just get into your groove, Mark. You're allowed to...
You were talking. I wanted to let you finish, but...
you can interrupt.
That's not how we work. That's not how we work.
You want something to say?
I have... I read an article today about the toilet paper, and they were saying that one of the reasons people go out and buy toilet paper, have these mass panics, is because it's about control, and it's something that they can control, which doesn't make sense to me, but neither does rushing off and spending $300 on toilet paper. But today, apparently, people have started to buy up all of the other paper goods, as you just suggested.
Yeah.
But I'd also say that it seems to be very localized, that it seems to be specific places, specific suburbs where this happens, and not in other places.
So those are the places where it's happening. I know not to live there ever.
Yeah, make note.
Haven't you watched CNN before, Mark, where they just talk all over the top of each other all the time? That's what makes it so great.
Yeah, I must admit, I'm not a fan of that.
That's what makes that's what actually makes CNN watchable, when all the hacks talk over each other.
Well, why don't we make it fair, since we're the regulars here, and we'll let our guest interrupt us whenever he likes, but we won't interrupt him. How about that?
Dave has gotten very, what's the word? I would say authoritative himself. If he's making a point and I sort of want to move on, he like nudges me. No, I want to finish this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a battle of wills. It's a dick swinging contest, you know. Boys will be boys.
Yeah, well, I must say on the Melbourne Traditionalists, we've worked out a system for, when each one of us talks, and it seems to work. But of course, that's over time.
Yeah. Well, I think we're coming into our stride now on the Uncuckables as well. It's with the boomer tech too. We're gradually improving things at my end, your end. Of course, weather dependent for me because I'm on NBN, and if it's raining outside, I might be frozen. We'll see.
And
Tim, you're going to need to get some goblets for the studio rather than plastic bottles because these are silent.
Oh, can you hear them?
But it's the little things. Just one step at a time. We just gradually improve our operation, and that's how it goes. And the fans come along with us, and one day people will be wistfully reminiscing about the days of plastic bottles and frozen James and Dave being too quiet.
Well, and that's right. And one day the plastic bottles won't be around.
Well, they've gotten rid of, sort of the plastic bags with they got rid of the single-use plastic bags. They're officially banned in Victoria. It's really technical about which paper plastic bags you're allowed to give away and which you have to charge for. But they got rid of the plastic straws next, and now we've got paper straws, and now I heard McDonald's are getting rid of the plastic cutlery and now paper cutlery. So now my Coke will taste like paper, and so will my hotcakes at McDonald's.
Oh, well, you have to stock up on the straws then.
The plastic ones, where can I get them from? They're all paper at the supermarket now.
What about at McDonald's?
Well, they haven't got the paper straws in yet, but it's coming.
Yeah, well, the straws are an absolute abomination. They just turn to mush in your mouth. They're horrid things.
I don't know what you're doing with them, but they shouldn't really last that long.
Well, I produce a lot of saliva, unfortunately. So yeah, maybe it's just me. I'm a bit of a drooler.
Now, how does being 40 meters underground affect the broadcast?
Well, the aerial's above ground.
Oh, clever.
Yeah.
Now, please come and join us on Entropy, so you can vote in our poll whether we can do the big reveal tonight, because it's not just you who's against it, James. YouTube might not like it, because I did notice that when this story broke about Greta on Sunday, I clicked on the Twitter hashtag, and it said, this contains sensitive material, basically trigger warning. And of course, none of the news media actually, this is what they do now, and this is why I hate the mainstream media. Oh, we're not going to show you this photo or this document, this image, but trust us.
But we've looked at it.
Yes.
Yeah, the filters. Yeah, thanks, guys. It's a bad idea. I just don't think we should show it. Not because Google will ban us. That would suck if they did, especially over something so trivial. But it's it's a degenerate image. So I just think people can look it up for themselves if they really want to.
So you've become the mainstream media.
Well, as I said, Tim's the guy with the controls, so he can do what he wants. I'm just issuing my opinion.
Now, we talked about it on Tuesday's Uncuckables, but I thought I'd give the pair of you an opportunity to comment on the demise of Australian Associated Press, described as Australian journalism's first responder. It's the death of impartial journalism, ruined by all the free news online and unresearched biased opinions.
Well, Dave, that's the real Dave. He's quite chuffed about it. His article on XYZ is about how he's helped contribute to this, and well, I can't say I'm surprised that it's reached this this level, I mean, it's always going to be there because they're always, lying, aren't they?
Yeah. I just love seeing how they squirm in their sort of post-mortem interviews or articles or whatever, just sort of saying, we're really worried for Australia now. How will Australia live without us? It's like, wow, can you be more tone deaf? Like, you're dead because Australia hates you and killed you, and because there are better services available that people prefer. People are really happy to pay for quality. It's not just because of the existence of free media. It's because the free media is better, or at least is more genuinely diverse as far as ideas go. And people are more interested and have more time than ever to do their own research and figure things out for themselves. And they're aware, and this is left and right. Everyone is aware that they don't want to just be spoon-fed by a single source or spoon-fed by elites and authoritarians. So yeah, people are happy to find their own niche environments to learn from. And of course, they're all biased. We're biased. We're not the unbiased truth. We're just representing a position and a set of ideas. And we're wrong about stuff. We try not to be, and at least we're honest about that. We don't go around parading as the the unbiased, perfectly well-researched purveyors of truth that Australia needs, whether they know it or not. So yeah, fuck them. Goodbye.
And they've said, who's going to sit in all the court cases and press conferences day in, day out to cover this important thing. And
obviously, Avi Yemeni will.
But it should be prefaced there that these noble journalists, they're only willing to do it if they get a healthy pay packet. They don't do it. Well, some of them think they're doing a moral democratic obligation, but they're still getting a roof over their head by. And I've seen AAP at work firsthand at Blair Cottrell's appeal trial, and the fake news and headlines they put out about that. So,
and that was really disgraceful, the way that they treated Blair. Always putting him next to a swastika, and
that was News Corp. Yes.
Exactly, and it was just quite disgraceful.
Yeah, no, and it's just one domino in the whole line, isn't it? They're going to be continuing to drop like flies, and what you'll find is that the only ones who remain to battle it out will be the ones who have this mysterious unlimited funding from activist billionaires who know that their projects are not of actual value. They'll be lost leader products because they're propagandists. That's what it comes down to. Is they exist to tell us what to think. They exist to get between us and the facts and make sure that we think correctly about it. And people are waking up. That's what we're part of, a movement of people waking up to the propaganda.
Yeah, exactly.
And if we can segue this back to their coronavirus sensationalism, 2 deaths in Australia, which of course we know equals 2 million. So that means that we've had, out of a population of 25 million, there's been 52 cases. So that means there's been 52 million cases in Australia of coronavirus.
So we each have it more than once.
Yes, because they found out that, or in China, that some who've recovered have got the coronavirus again.
Oh, all right.
So it is logical, somewhat. And what is it that I know the World Health Organization, they keep changing their revisions. They say that 70% of the world might catch it, but it's not deadly. It's as we just went through. It's another strain of the flu. Obviously, we don't know much about it. There's no vaccine that's been developed yet. I heard that some Israeli medical scientific facility is working on a vaccine, which is, they said that's quite a while away.
Yeah, I won't be having it. It's a trap, guys. It's a trap.
And I'm being dead serious about that. I know people in the chat might think not, but that is actually, that's real news.
That a vaccine is on the way.
And it's been developed in Israel.
Oh, right. Yeah. No, I believe it. But I also believe it's part of the plan. So yeah, I will not be having any vaccine related corona. I would rather have corona than have a corona vaccine. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You had the flu around about the same time we launched the Uncuckables last year, and I remember last winter, it was around about June, I got the flu, Dave got the flu, Maddie got the flu. Did you get the flu?
No, I don't think I did.
Okay. Well, then you're tougher than you think. Blair got the flu, Neil got the flu. We were all knocked out for about a week. We had to cancel a week of Uncuckables. And yes, the flu does suck, but people think that this is some sort of like super virus that makes you cough violently out your insides, that it's like being it's like those people that you see who were gassed by the Assad regime. Remember, we all saw that footage.
Yeah, and I saw footage coming out of China of people vomiting like liters of blood on the trains and in the sidewalk, and they compile it together and they put this like heavy metal dramatic music behind it, and it starts to look like one of those found footage films. It sort of looks like Resident Evil 8,
Yes.
The China edition, and it's you've got to not be gullible to the free and open media stuff too. Propaganda comes from all directions, and it really does come from there are citizen journalists out there, some of them very, very famous and popular and constantly stirring up controversy, who are propagandists and bullshit artists and not to be trusted. So don't believe the mainstream funded media. Don't believe the Soros funded media. Don't believe the approved media, and don't believe the alternative media either. Don't believe us. Think for yourself. We're just here to share our opinions. But yeah, like the amount of stuff, and they all of these big footage of Chinese police brutality as well, that they're going, this is what they're doing to people who are sick with coronavirus, but you can tell it's just some random incident of violence.
Yeah, you don't know where it's come from.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably in China, but China's a freaking huge country, like 1 billion people there. And, there's lots of incidents that get caught on camera that if you compile them together, you can build a narrative. So you've got to be skeptical.
Yeah. And we know that there's a lot of people in the Western media who want to bash China, and because it is a communist regime, and we know how secretive and how they're able to suppress things, it's easier for someone in the media to say, look, I've got footage of what is really going on here. How do you know that?
What a scoop!
How do you know that they're not spreading propaganda? But of course, now coronavirus has gone global now, which. And I said this last week, this is why the mainstream media, they've got free reign to scare us now, because they can no longer be accused of xenophobia and xenophobia, because a lot of the Iranian parliament has got it now. Italy, they're going to be shutting down the schools, and their Serie A matches are going to be played in empty stadiums. So
Yeah, well, in Italy, they have closed down the schools for the rest of the month, I believe.
Yeah.
One of the people on the live chat mentioned Tamworth.
Oh yes, because there's been toilet paper rage. Because the supermarkets, they are out of toilet paper, but there's still plenty of substitutes. But we should be able to wipe our backsides with proper 3-ply toilet paper. Why should we have to settle for a napkin supposed to go on the face, not on the behind? And paper towels, they're supposed to be water absorbers, so we're entitled to this toilet paper. And this gentleman in Tamworth thought that it was the only way that he was going to get it was by being super aggressive and violent. So this is the Tamworth police report here. A man has been charged over the alleged assault of 2 people and resisting and assaulting 2 police officers at Tamworth. Just after 10 a.m, Thursday, 5th of March 2020,
You
officers
really
from
needed that paper.
officers from Oxley Police District responded following reports of a man had assaulted 2 people at a department store in Bridge Street, Tamworth. That was Big W. Police were told the man became aggressive over stock unavailability and threw boxes of tissues at a female staff member and walked off. When a female customer approached the man, he allegedly grabbed her around the throat before she was assisted by another customer. No injuries have been reported. So that guy's a violence against women.
Man, the Fruit Loops come out to play, hey?
Yeah. The man then left the store and purchased items from a supermarket when police approached him. As officers attempted to arrest the man, he allegedly resisted and attempted to put one of the officers in a headlock and grasp another officer's service's firearm. After police avoided taser to effect the man's arrest, he was taken to Tamworth Police Station. He was treated by the New South Wales ambulance paramedics as a precaution. The 50-year-old man was charged with 2 counts each of common assault, resisting officer in execution of duty, and assault officer in execution of duty. He has been refused bail to appear at Tamworth Local Court tomorrow, Friday, 6th of March. Inquiries continuing. So even if he did just explode with rage, he got enraged again when police said, hey, you can't just go around throwing boxes at women and choking them. He decided, I'm going to assault the police officers and try and grab their gun.
What a hill to die on. Oh my God, that is so funny. Oh, wow. That's the best laugh I've had in a long time. Dude, it's just toilet paper. Relax. You don't need to grab a cop's gun. Oh, my Lord.
And there's a guy in the chat who said that him and his father and his 8 brothers all used the newspaper back in the day instead of toilet paper. But how many people read the news out of newspapers nowadays?
Yeah, that's the thing.
You read it on your
worth the price for toilet paper.
You read it on your iPod. I don't think you want to use that.
The NT News, which is they have those. What's the best way to describe them? Those really hilarious headlines. They had a dunny paper lift out where you can use the 12 pages of the newspaper. They've got cutting things where you can make your own toilet paper, and they also reported that in Darwin there's no toilet paper shortage. But the thing is, this is not a supply issue. There's no actual shortage of toilet paper. It's just that there's been insane levels of demand from insane people, it looks like. There was also in a Parramatta shopping market, a supermarket, a customer pulled a knife on another customer over toilet paper.
Oh, wow. Wow, it really is bringing out the crazy in people, isn't it? And it's a psyop. Whether the coronavirus is a legit pandemic in waiting or not, the way that the governments and the media are using the information that they're releasing, and the way that the sensationalists are using the information, it is a mass psyop, and we're seeing the effect, in these ways. But also the reporting on this stuff, because the truth is there are always crazy people like that doing crazy shit. But when they can link it to a global event like coronavirus and toilet paper, it makes for a better and certainly more amusing story. But as Ian Moore is saying in the chats, he thinks that the man in question is the mentally ill person who goes around town with his possessions in a trolley, and that's probably true. He's probably a guy who's been demon possessed or seriously mentally ill for a very long time, and it just happens to be good timing for him to get triggered by his basic needs not being met. Well, but yeah, I mean, I live in the bush, so there's a lot of smooth leaves around here. I'm not too worried about the toilet paper.
Well, I mean, you're quite right about people. This wouldn't be an issue if it wasn't for the virus. If this event had happened, it wouldn't be news.
Well, it shows you that if there was an actual global pandemic or natural disaster, it shows how just unprepared Australians are, because, there's fears that we'll go into a recession. We haven't had one for 29 years. Everyone's just so used to and entitled that everything will just be like this. They see that there could be this outbreak of this virus they don't know about, and so they're like, oh, because they remember they always used to laugh at the American doomsday preppers and the bunkers, but yeah, we're the laughing stock of the world now.
Yeah, that's right. It's all it is a massive distraction. And if it's engineered, whether it's a bioweapon that's been engineered or whether it's a narrative that's been engineered, which, you could argue it could be both to some degree or other. But the way that it's being used is it serves very well as a distraction for the masses, the idiot masses, from the fact that it's not just a recession on the horizon, it's a complete collapse of the global financial system and fiat currency. This thing has to end. It's unsustainable. If you study the history of it, you'll see it's happened before. It'll happen again. The bottom will fall out of this entire fake money racket. And there's so many things indicating that is coming sooner than later, like in the next decade. The GFC will be nothing compared to the depression that's going to come. But people survived these things, and people survived the Black Plague and kept having babies, but it's the weak, it's the idiotic, it's the crazy, it's the elderly, the infirmed, and the city dwellers who suffer the most in these situations. So just don't be one of those.
I came across the other day when I was at the local an old British man. Some old men they have good stories from back in the day which give you a bit of perspective. There's some old men that you shouldn't listen to at all, but this man he was talking about the toilet paper panic, and he spoke about how he remembered the Blitz in Britain in 40-41 and the rationing back then. That went on for a decade, that rationing, and this is not rationing. Like, the supermarkets have introduced self limits on purchase to 4 packets of toilet paper. God, how are we going to cope? But this is my point here, and I think maybe once the hysteria dies down, maybe people will actually think, yeah, maybe I should get some sort of bunker and stock up on canned food and to actually prepare for something, because everyone just goes home at night after work and watches Survivor or Married at First Sight and then watch some Netflix, and that's their life.
Are you suggesting that Survivor is not adequate training for what is to come?
Survivor is
because the name suggests that it is.
It's an artificial environment where obviously, like, they're being filmed by it's not actually a Robin Crusoe, Desert Island, Gilligan's Island thing.
Well, that's a big disappointment. Yeah. You've really ruined my life, Tim.
Yeah, and also marriage at first sight is fake marriage. The thing about prepping is, while the preppers have the right idea as far as stockpiling supplies, so that it's a good idea to have at least a few months worth of immediate supplies of at least the kind of staples that will keep you alive and that will last. Have some big bags of rice in stock. It's a good idea, but the problem is, if the crisis is bigger than people are anticipating, it's not enough to have supplies. You need to be able to produce or generate more food, and you need a labor force to do that. So if you don't have land in which you can grow food, if you don't have the ability and the tools with which to hunt or trap meat, and if you don't have a family and a neighborhood of people who are resourceful and who you trust, then you're going to be in among the masses scrambling for whatever you get. So if you really want to be a prepper, have children, have land, learn how to grow, have information available to help you to learn and develop that skill, and check out from the modern convenient chain of supply that everyone is addicted to. Like, they've made us addicted to this global infrastructure of packaged supply food. And this is a very, very new thing in our history. Humans have been around a long time. Canned food has not. And it will be gone soon. It will be gone soon. The supply chain will end. The global free trade will end. And then what are you going to do? You're going to have to live local again. So now is the time, if there's any time left, to start preparing and learning to live locally sufficient. And the first and most important thing everyone can do is just know who your neighbors are. If you don't know the person over the back fence and the side fence, if you don't have a relationship with the people around you, you're probably screwed. So get on it.
Yeah. Neighbours is just a soap opera these days. It's not a way of living now. I mean, do they have their, what is it, neighbourhood watch programs anymore? The Safe House? I remember going to primary school at the 90s where we were taught about the neighbourhood watch program, and if a stranger is following you, go to a safe house that has the neighbourhood watch thing there. But obviously that's all in the past. Everyone's a stranger to their neighbours now.
Well, I mean, programs like that primarily existed because mothers were at home, and now so many of them are at work.
Yes, the workforce participation, get more women into the workplace. Dan Andrews, what is it? We talked about it last week. His gender equality bill in employment.
And what did he say?
That public sector departments and local councils have to have gender equality employment guidelines and practices.
Well, that's quite bizarre, because 70% of the Victorian public service is female.
So need more men.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but what kind of female? Are you talking white cis female? Because that's not good enough, bro. That ain't woke enough.
Well, it is. Yeah, it is today. It is today. Maybe in a decade's time it won't be, but today it still counts.
Yeah.
Now, a final bit of comic relief at the toilet paper panic, because all the toilet paper factories, they're all working flat out to keep up with the increased demand. Because yes, I know that someone was trying to claim, see, capitalism is failing here. What? So capitalists, they're supposed to project for an insane amount of increase in 24, 48 hours. Like, we all know what happens in socialism. There is no toilet paper.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, but
it's not just going to be toilet paper that's off the shelves if we get the Soviet socialist state of Australia. But we're well on our way. Our way.
But this is what happened to a truck carrying toilet paper in Brisbane.
It just self-destructed out of stress.
Look, tonight we've had a
did the driver
semi-trailer
make
and
it
a
out?
B-double with probably half of the vehicle well involved. We've been able to extinguish it with 2 fire appliances and a number of fire crews wearing breathing apparatus.
Precious toilet paper.
Do we know it wasn't an act of domestic terrorism?
Yes,
Push the panic.
Maybe it could have been some sort of intelligence agency, sort of, let's keep this going.
Yep. I would believe it at this point.
Because the business of government is continuing. I had economist Martin North on last night, where the cash ban on cash transactions over $10,000, if you do that, you'll be given a 2-month jail term. That's been approved by a Senate committee and could very well be voted through by the Senate. Meanwhile, we're all everyone's mass panicking buying toilet paper,
and here legal tender is being denied that it's legal tender.
Yes.
Quick technical question about that, Tim, because I know you've done your research. Are they going to index that 10 grand to account for inflation?
No.
What about hyperinflation when it happens? When $10,000 only buys you a cup of coffee? What are we going to do then?
Well, make sure it's a nice cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, because our Reserve Bank is printing more money for QE, because we had the interest rate drop to 0.5%. So, well, if they keep inflating, then soon that we'll be able to use Australian currency as toilet paper, because it'll be worthless. Just make sure you don't have a toilet roll of Australian money that is more than $10,000.
maybe that's the con. Maybe that all of this is this whole economic panic is all being engineered just to create a situation where the economy's bottom falls out, they hyperinflate the currency supply, and force us to use money as toilet paper as a vehicle to spread coronavirus. Think about it. Think about that.
Do you realize the pun that
Do you really want to put money in near any of your orifices? Really?
do you realize the pun that you made there, that if the bottom falls out of the economy, there'll be no toilet paper to clean it up?
Glad you picked that up. We have the runs in every sense in Australia right now.
Dave's in the chat now. He said he just got back from the shop. So give us a report, Dave, on what you saw, an eyewitness account.
We need a satellite cam for, here I am outside Woolworths.
Well, Dave learned how to use Skype on Tuesday night.
Ooh.
I was impressed. He was still late.
Yeah, how very 2002 of him. He's saying he only bought one pack of TP. What I want to know is, was it a mega pack, and was it double length, or was it just your standard garden variety, 6-pack?
Yes, we want to know, what are the big brands now? There's Kleenex, Sorbent, and that Quilton one.
Quilton. Yes, the Quilton 3-ply double length is the gentleman's choice in Australia.
and that's all made locally in Australia. It's not, well, if it was made in China and it was being imported from China, like, why would you think that it would save you from coronavirus if you're going to wipe your ass with like toilet paper made in China when, I don't know.
Yeah. I had a parcel arrive from China, and I scrubbed the damn thing down before I let anyone in my family touch it. Don't go shopping for extra Chinese goods right now.
Yeah.
Don't because that would be racist.
There is a charity toilet paper brand called Who Gives a Crap, where they donate proceeds to fund public toilets and that. But their toilet paper is made in China.
Yeah, and it's 1-ply and feels like sandpaper. I know because a cafe near me uses it, and it's horrid. It's awful stuff. But it's a nice virtue signal, right?
Yes, I saw a Twitter video today. It was some guy. He looked like a typical soy boy beta mate, who was saying, people are realizing how precious toilet paper is. Don't you know that some women can't afford sanitary products like tampons and pads? So make sure you donate to their...
They should be free anyway.
Yeah.
Well, in the chat, we've got a bit of controversy here. Tink says, empty shelves of toilet paper here in Dandenong as well. And then Bieber Anti-Bully says, you go to Dandenong Coles and the toilet paper aisles are all full. I think, Dave, you have to go to Dandenong and tell us what's happening.
Might be a Woolies Coles thing.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, what is it?
I reckon it's time to move on from toilet paper, gentlemen. I reckon we could do that now.
Let's go. Let's move on to Super Tuesday results, because I mentioned it briefly on the WilmsFront program last night. But the sleepy Joe Biden giant has been unwoken.
Awakened.
Yes. Yeah. He's
Oh God.
He's back in this race at full throttle.
I love it. It's sort of like a weekend at Bernie's, except it's not Bernie who's being propped up, but it's like they've got the corpse, and the establishment Democrats are holding up this corpse of old Sleepy Joe, and they're like, he's still got it in him. You're like, where am I?
Yeah,
but it's amazing. I really didn't think he would be this far into it, honestly.
Well, it just shows that, because they all dropped out, Pete Buttigieg, Amy Klobuchar, when they realized that black people and minorities weren't going to vote for them, and they all coalesced around Joe Biden, he's 77 at the moment. He'll be 78 if he's elected president, and he's always been a gaffe machine. Back when he ran for president for the second time in 2008, he was asked during the debates, the expression is Biden is a gaffe machine, and he made tons of gaffes when he was Obama's vice presidential running mate.
He's quite a remarkable character, and they're really scraping the bottom of the barrel with him. But look at the other people that came out of the woodwork. I mean, can Joe Biden beat Trump? I don't think so. None
of them can.
Can Sanders? Actually, Sanders would have been a better candidate than Clinton in 2016.
Yeah,
Sanders actually would have stood a really good chance. I don't think he would have won, but he would have been really competitive, whereas Clinton wasn't, no matter what they say.
But they don't give a damn about the actual general election numbers. They don't give a damn about the will of the people. And this is going to be what destroys the whole system, sooner than later. And I still stand by my prediction that Trump may be the last president ever, and certainly is going to be the last Republican president. But I think he's going to win in a landslide, and they're not going to take it.
I agree that he's going to win in a landslide, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but I certainly don't agree that he's going to be the last president or the last Republican president. I think that the US, like everywhere else, is dividing very sharply into left and right, and the middle is just collapsing, and everyone's fleeing in one direction or the other. And we talked a lot of the articles about Super Tuesday were about the Democrats and about who won, whether it was Biden or whether it was Sanders. But the big untold, the big untold story was Trump, because the Republicans had their primaries the same day in the same states, and Trump won all of them. There are other candidates running. I was reading about Texas, and Trump got 97% of the vote.
Is that unusually high for a returning president? Yeah, right. That's great. It doesn't surprise me, but it's great to hear.
And the second best candidate got 0.75%.
We'll have a look at the delegate count.
Is that Mitt Romney?
Yeah.
It would have been great if it was, but no, it wasn't.
Here we go.
Judas Romney.
Oh, yeah.
In the Democrat pledged delegates, the magical number is 1,991. Biden's got 509. Bernie Sanders, 449. Elizabeth Warren, 37. She didn't even win her home state of Massachusetts. And Pete Buttigieg, he's got 26. Bloomberg, 19. The only territory that he won was American Samoa, which means that Tulsi Gabbard, she didn't even win, her ancestral homeland. She at the moment hasn't dropped out. She's got one delegate, Amy Klobuchar. She's got 7. But yes, the Republican primary, the only challenger to Trump who's got any name recognition is former Massachusetts Governor Bill Weld, who was, in case you remember from 2016, he was Libertarian presidential candidate Gary Johnson's running mate. Bill Weld, the neoconservative Libertarian, if there is such a term as that.
It is pretty bizarre. And how many did he have?
He's got one delegate.
And Trump has
859.
Yeah.
The delegate that he got was from New Hampshire. There was enough probably Free State Project libertine degenerates to give him that one delegate.
Yeah, I really think we're going for a Trump slide. I mean, as long as we don't get too complacent, or they don't get too complacent. But in Oklahoma, Trump doubled the amount of people who voted for him compared to 2016. And he got more votes than the top 5 Democratic candidates combined.
I think actually there's because, Trump has something like 90% approval rating among Republicans.
Yeah.
I think because they know that there's all these deep state GOP old guard who want to run against him. They're voting in the primary just to be absolutely sure that he is renominated by the Republican Party, because you wouldn't want to take any chances.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
do it properly. I just want to qualify what I said before, Mark, about Trump being the last president. My prediction, more specifically, is that he'll be the last president of 50 United States. So obviously, I don't think that there won't be any presidents after him, but that the Union will fail before he's out. That's my prediction. Is that one state that he'll win this? I think he'll win this in a massive landslide, and a state like California or similar will agitate to secede from the Union, and that will be the end of the United States as we know it. Not all the states will fall apart, but it'll be the beginning of the end of Rome.
Let's remember that because we know about the continuing demographic changes in the United States. That's what Nick Fuentes and Michelle Malkin talk about. I saw, James, on Twitter, you thought that Michelle Malkin hit it out of the park with her AFPAC speech.
Yeah, it was great. It was very stirring.
So the demographics change. Have already flipped Virginia blue, which used to be a swing state, which is next to Washington, D.C. That's where they had the gun confiscation proposal. But thankfully, there was enough angry, ordinary Americans who love the Second Amendment that got the moderate Democrats to vote it down. But all they need to do next, the Democrats, is to flip Texas blue, which they could very well do, and flip Florida blue, and then it's all over. Because they are two rich electoral college states.
Yeah, but I think people scare themselves by thinking about these ideas that theoretically it should be impossible to have a Republican in the White House ever. And probably from about 2000 on, that should have been, because there were so many Hispanic immigrants in the United States, and Hispanics overwhelmingly vote Democrat.
But a Republican presidential candidate has only won a majority of votes and won the popular vote once. That was George W. Bush in his re-election in 2004. He didn't win the popular vote in 2000, and Trump lost the popular vote by 3 million. He won the Electoral College because he won the white working class states of Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, where it mattered.
Right. But my point was that even though they've brought in these people, they don't actually vote. So there's millions of them.
They'll try, and they'll resurrect the dead if they have to on paper to get as many votes through as they can. But Trump has a massive advantage now of having a pretty successful 4 years behind him, where he's done enough for his supporters to continue to support him. He hasn't really estranged. The only people that he's estranged are the hard nationalists, and it's totally understandable because he's an Israel first president. He's probably the most Israel first president ever. And yet, we're still watching and thinking, is this all a troll? Because he still seems to be, on the side of real Americans. And, it'll play out how it plays out. And Trump's obviously still by far the best candidate for the White House on offer.
I think we've got to remember that Trump's in his 70s. He's not in his 20s or his 30s. And so a lot of people who are much younger are looking at him saying, why does he like Israel? Because for the last 50 years... Yeah, exactly. Actually, he's a pre-boomer, isn't he? I think he's actually older.
46 he was born.
46, so he's a boomer. So,
He's alpha boomer, yep.
Yeah, so supporting Israel is par for the course. And I think we get a little bit carried away sometimes and put our wishful thinking into what he wants. But the other thing we have to remember is how much opposition there is within the administration to everything that Trump wants. And, I mean by the administration, primarily what we call the public service.
Yeah,
the deep state.
What's been unique and great about Trump is that even though on the surface and in all of the optics he appears to be extremely Israel first in his attitudes and Israel loves him, he has also been the most successful anti-war president in my memory. He has said no to many opportunities, many agitations by the neo-clowns to push America into another foreign war centered around the Middle East. He has not taken the bait. And he's not the war hawk that the Zionists would want him to be. So that gives us at least some hope that he's not just a bought and sold shill.
Is that why they resorted to a bioweapon to knock out the Iranian parliament?
Yeah, it could be.
That's irony. That's irony. I don't know. It's just a theory.
No, I think it's a legitimate possibility. I'll say that. I will not say for a second that it's the truth, but why would that be beyond the realm of possibility?
Yeah. It's
absolutely within the realm of possibility.
But as I said previously, like China and Iran you get, but Italy, what's up with shutting down Italy?
I don't know. I think the Italians are just looking for an excuse for a week off. It's just the Mediterranean way.
Well, you might be right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned the dead voters, James. Somebody mentioned, was it Sideshow Bob? That's how he won the Springfield mayoral election. I hear that one of the new Democrat voters this November will be a voter called Jay Epstein.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, interesting.
Because there's the old joke, when Hillary Clinton's at the graveyard, is she saying hello to her voters or goodbye to witnesses?
That's a good one. I haven't heard that.
Hey, I haven't heard that one, but that's good.
That's good, yeah.
And somebody said more Americans have died testifying against the Clintons than from coronavirus.
That's probably statistically true. Yeah. Yeah, and probably will hold for a long time because there's a lot of mysterious suicides by knife in the back, around DC, around the swamp.
But just on we're talking about the coronavirus globally, it has completely distracted the world from the fact that, as the expression goes, the barbarians are at the gate of Europe, banging on the Greek border. We've already heard about crimes happening on the island of Lesbos to the real lesbians. And to their credit, the Greeks are doing a good job at keeping, and they're not refugees. They're able bodied men. Yeah. And we know what's going to happen if they're allowed in, and we stand with Greece, our Greek fans, Pissy Leaks Pete, and Australian Meditations.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, look, the Greeks know better than anyone from their rich history of war. They know how Trojan horses work. They did it to the Trojans. The Greeks also, and Europe generally should be more aware of the realities of these things. The Goths came to the gates of Rome as refugees with some women and children, and said, we need help, we're displaced from our lands, from wars up north, let us in. And they did, and it was a turning point, a massive turning point. So it really doesn't matter if there's some sob stories, or it doesn't matter if there's, absolute, crimes against humanity, as I like to call it, going on down south for these people. The Greeks don't have to let anyone in that they don't want. It's as simple as that.
Oh, and
Greece either exists or it doesn't. And if it exists, it has sovereignty. And if it has sovereignty, then its men, its citizens, its military, its police will stand up and protect that sovereignty with action. They're being invaded, and it's an act of war, and they absolutely have a right to be fighting it back by any means necessary.
Well, the thing is that it's also against international law what's happening. The globalists like to talk about international law and how nations don't have as many rights. The international community has rights, but there are international agreements, and they say that refugees have to go to the next safe country,
which is Turkey, and Turkey is just whisking them through to Greece, because we know the history between Greece and Turkey is now, looks like it's becoming the Ottoman Empire revived, the second empire. Erdogan, he is an Islamist, And I reminded people a few nights ago about Erdogan. Remember what he said last Anzac Day, that he threatened to the Australian pilgrims who are coming to Gallipoli, we'll send you back in coffins like we did in World War One.
Yeah. You could almost call him based in a perverse kind of way, like as far as his nationalism and his conviction in his identity and the supremacy of his religion and his people. But he wants to make the Mediterranean and he wants to make Europe Islamic. Well, now's the time for reciprocity. I say let's make Istanbul Constantinople again.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
Yeah.
And they're using these, men basically as weapons of war. They're because Turkey they want to destabilize Europe. They're salty about not being allowed into the European Union,
the land of milk and honey.
Yeah, and we know that Islamists they're definitely not immune to using others as human shields.
And, as you pointed out, at the border, these are young men. And you can see the footage for yourself. They're young men.
It's an army, yeah.
It's an army. It's an army.
It's a very haphazard army, and they're out of uniform, but it's an army.
Well, I mean, they have the civilian garb is their uniform, and the media is their weapon.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's the Trojan horse, like they're coming in. Well, look, they're not wearing uniforms and they're not bearing arms. So what could possibly go wrong? Just as you say, they're using the mind control of the propaganda machine. And Erdogan's just an opportunist. He sees how cucked Europe is.'s like, all right, go on in. They'll let you, go all at once.
And I think this is what's happening right now. Is it's very important for Greece and Bulgaria to stand their ground. And if they don't, things get worse. And if they do stand their ground, then things will get better.
James Boom in the chat says there's over 1 million invaders on their way to the Greek border. I mean, I hope that's not true, but that's terrifying. And it's war.
Yeah.
If it's already, even if that's not true, just what's already happening is war. And we've got to stop being in denial about it.
Yeah. And in Greece, they should do I'm supportive of whatever they need to do to secure their borders.
Yeah.
Well,
may God bless them.
We'll move back to Australian politics, where we know that making a joke is very dangerous in 2020, but it's especially dangerous for politicians. And Josh Frydenberg, he found that out this week when he was trying to make a satirical point about Labor Shadow Treasurer Jim Chalmers' proposal for a well-being budget. And this is let's play it here. This is.
They are inspired. They are inspired by their spiritual leader, that member for Rankin, Mr. Speaker. The member for Rankin, Mr. Speaker. And I was thinking yesterday, as the member for Rankin was coming into the chamber, fresh from his ashram deep in the mountains of the Himalayas, barefoot into the chamber, robes flowing, incense burning, beads in one hand, well-being budget in the other. I thought to myself, what would the yoga position that the member for Rankin would assume? The Treasurer will resume his seat. Well, as the member for Rankin was approaching the dispatch box, I was thinking, what position would he be assuming to deliver the first well-being budget? And I'm no of what position would he be assuming at the dispatch box? Was it position number 5, the downward dog, Mr. Speaker? No. Was it position number 6, the reclining pigeon, Mr. Speaker? No. Position number 7, Mr. Speaker, the twisted deer, Mr. Speaker. But then the vision came to me. Through the incense, Mr. Speaker. What was the position? Number 8. It was the sleeping swan. No, the Treasurer will remove that prop. It was a sleeping swan, Mr. Speaker. Position number 8. the sleeping swab, beads in one hand, robes flowing, incense burning. Here was the member for Rankins' homily to his mentor, the former member for Lilly. Mr Speaker, we all know, the Australian people know, a wellbeing budget is just another word for Labor's higher taxes and more debt.
And the well-being budget, that's a rip-off of Jacinta Ardern's New Zealand well-being budget, which Frydenberg is right, that it's just a spin term for higher taxes, deficits, and more government spending.
The days when the Liberal Party could accuse the Labor Party of being the party of debt are well and truly over. The Liberal Party has done sweet FA to actually fix the debt problem.
James just stepped out for a moment. Did you do some of those meditation positions that Frydenberg was talking about while you?
Well, I couldn't hear the video, unfortunately, because of the way we've got the equipment rigged. So it was all muted to me. I could just hear you laughing. And unlike some of our really big fans, I prefer to urinate on the outside of my trousers, not on the trousers. I prefer to send the urine away from my trousers. So yeah, I stepped out for a moment.
Make sure you didn't need to use any extra toilet paper to clean up something.
None at all. None at all, in fact. But I do have this handy sanitary lotion.
Oh no, people are going to... people in the... Because on Tuesday night show, people in the chat remember I showed that in the studio bunker here I had a full packet of toilet paper and some sanitary wipes. I legit bought those last Friday because we needed more around here. I didn't know that this panic was going to happen, so I bought it in my normal stock up of supplies for here, and it seemed I bought it at the right time before everyone went crazy. So when I did legitimately need some, they were there. It's like
before $10,000 only bought you a cup of coffee.
It's like it's like when the census website.
Nice callback.
It's like when the census website crashed on census night. I did mine the night before. So I didn't have to wait around for like a few months to do the census properly when the ABS people went around to your house.
So were you a scout?
What?
When you were growing up, were you a scout?
No.
Oh, because you are prepared.
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah, I'd argue anyone living in Melbourne is not prepared. Sorry, guys.
Oh, we definitely we are prepared for what's around us. I just got a live update from one of the supermarkets in Sunbury. Now they're going for the rice and the pasta. There's empty pasta there. I wonder if that's going back to Italy. Because you know how everyone's suspecting maybe stuff's being sent back to China, or all the pasta.
Yeah, I got in early with the pasta. I've got my supplies. I'm not going to be scalping them though. That's one thing I don't understand. Is like, just keep it. Like, you genuinely may need it. Don't hope to make a quick buck off it.
I've seen they clearly fake a lot of short videos being put up on Twitter about toilet paper dealers. I think they're
even I heard the radio today, and the guy was talking about how he'd bought some toilet paper on the dark web.
I did a show, a James Fox Higgins show recently, critiquing Mike Cernovich and his recent despair porn mongering. And, one of his things was that he was telling people, don't start a positive website, offering motivation for young men to get up and do something better with their lives. Just start a coronavirus aggregation site. You'll get way more traffic and you'll make way more money. It's like, well, that may be true. But now I think the thing to do is start a toilet paper drop shipping online business, and you'll make coin.
Now, didn't we have another politician.
We'll go back to because James he showed off his supplies, but we'll go back. This is on XYZ, written by David Hiscock. SBS criticises Australia's Jewish treasurer for racism towards Hindu. And this is,
I love this guy. I reckon this is one of the most upstanding journalists in Australia.
Yeah, David. Oh, no, not this guy who wrote this tweet here, David Marler.
No, the writer of the article.
Mr. Hiscock.
Yes.
Mr. Hiscock, I love his work. He's a great guy. I feel like I know him.
As Asram is a place of worship for many Indian religions, such as Hinduism, Josh Fragmer's coalition today mocking Hindus in Question Time. And Dave wrote, we all understand that criticising a religion is racist. Josh Frydenberg's comments appear to lampoon the practice of Hindus. That is racist. Racism caused the Holocaust. The chosen defence for this racism in the halls of Parliament is that Joshua was mocking Westerners who culturally appropriate the trappings of a foreign religion.
But of course, it's no longer a foreign religion, is it? This is the Australia that they've created, and well, they have to live in it the same way we do. I mean, the politicians. Can you guys give me because I don't have the context here of hearing what Frydenberg actually said. Can you just give me the nutshell version of what he was getting at? Basically, the Labor shadow treasurer said that they wanted a wellness budget. So Frydenberg basically shaped it all as him going up to his ashram up in the Himalayas and meditating and doing yoga positions. So basically, he's taking the piss out of Hinduism.
I think he's taking the piss out of the white uptake of it, and the amount of hipster would-be yoginis out there in their yoga pants who think that having their
really what he's doing is he's mocking the rest of us who have had to suffer through his budgets. As I said just before you came back, is the days where the Liberal Party could mock the Labor Party for being irresponsible about money, well, they're gone.
Yeah, they're all about equal now in their incompetence.
Yeah.
Now, please join us over on Entropy because everyone's got a lot to say in the live chat, but they're not asking anything in the asking a real question is free. But if you want us to read out whatever's on your mind, you got to send it through a super chat. And also,
someone called XYZ is insisting that you read the next bit of that excellent article by that excellent journalist.
Who's XYZ? I assume that's the sort of XYZ consensus editorial team.
Must be, yeah, but you should probably read it.
Yet the alternative to adopting the cultural practices of another people is to celebrate and affirm the cultural practices of Westerners, which is racism. Racism caused the Holocaust, thus the defence of Frydenberg's racism in Parliament is itself deeply racist. This hasn't escaped the notice of one of Australia's most important anti-racist institutions, SBS Australian Hindus, demanding an apology from Treasurer Josh Frydenberg for demeaning references to the Indian religion during attack on Labor. Was that I'll go because we're just repeating the thing. He had the the A4 props are not allowed in Parliament. It's against the rules.
Oh, naughty boy.
Yeah.
and look, there's a white yogi.
On Friday, Hindus around Australia condemned the treasurer. Why was he trying to be demeaning towards...
XYZ is now saying that you should stop reading the article, Tim. So, maybe
No, this is the quote, yeah. Why was he trying to be demeaning towards Hindus in trying to counter the opposition? Would he dare do that with other religions? I condemn his behaviour.
Ramaswamy told SBS News.
And Frydenberg, he has apologised to the Hindus.
Of course he has.
He's not an uncuckable. Look, as an Indian man, I identify as an Indian man. I have partly Indian heritage, and I'm fine with him making fun of white yogis.
And the Senate, they're holding their Senate estimates where public servants and government Senate ministers appear before committees to give explanations about why they've done certain things. And the finance minister, Matthias Cormann, he was asked by Green Senator Janet Rice why the federal government Comcars had been changed from white to grey, and this was his answer.
My final question is to you, Minister. My Comcar driver told me the other day that the colour of the cars was chosen by you personally. Is that a true rumour that's circulating?
I take responsibility for that, yes. I think that it's my judgment. The white colour, sort of in my mind, reflects a bit of a colonial past that we've moved on from, and I think the colour chosen for the Comcars is a better reflection of a modern, forward-looking Australia.
My driver was complaining very hard to keep them looking clean.
Now, Pauline Hanson, she put this clip in a tweet saying, apparently now it's not okay to have white cars because they represent colonial Australia. And when everyone heard this in Senate estimates, they're like, what? That's the reason why you changed the whole fleet from white to grey, so it wouldn't be associated with white Australia. And I commented on this last night that Matthias Cormann, he maybe this is to make up for the fact that the coalition supported Pauline Hanson's It's Okay to Be White motion. Matthias Cormann said they did it due to an administrative error.
I don't know whether he's mocking the Green Senator, because the problem with the Liberal Party is it likes to have it both ways. It likes to pretend that it supports the old Australia and it supports the new Australia. Well, what is it?
That's called cucking.
Yeah,
Or neo clowns. They're liars. They're fucking scoundrels. And they're no better than their opposition. Just another shade of red.
Absolutely.
2GB's Ben Fordham, he said on that afternoon, absolutely fruitcake stuff. The bizarre reason a politician changed the colour of the Comcars. And after, because Ben Fordham's pretty influential, Matthias Cormann released a statement which he said, and I'll do it with a German accent because I am ethnically a German, so it's not cultural appropriation. This is how I'd speak if I was back in my native Germany. It was a clumsy attempt at light-hearted comment, which I regret. The colour of the Comcar fleet was changed from white to dark grey because it was felt that colour provided a more contemporary looking fleet, which better aligned with vehicles from other agencies supporting guests of government services and major events programs, because it's expected to provide good resale opportunities at the end of the lease. So he says for a more contemporary feel, which is another word for sort of modern. So he
just kind of repeated the same thing, didn't he? More in line with our modern values. Who gives a shit what colour the cars are? Honestly, what a joke.
But it reminds me when Trudeau, remember at that town hall when that questioner used the term mankind, and he said, we like to use the word people kind, it's more inclusive, and the crowd cheered, and then he's like, we can all learn from each other.
Group hug, people kind. Oh man.
Yeah.
Justin Trudeau, not a man, a people's.
Yeah. But then after he was roundly mocked and ridiculed for it, even he later said, "Oh, it was just a dumb joke." And so you wonder, was it actually, because this is a Senate estimates hearing where you're supposed to be under like oath, like not supposed to mislead a Senate committee.
Yes.
You sort of wonder if he if is this sort of a work back? Oh, it was just a joke.
Well, I mean, they like to play it both ways, don't they? So that they can send out the quote that's appropriate to support any position that they need.
Tell you what, I'll believe the oaths and the truthfulness of politicians when they put their hand on a Bible and they swear to Jesus Christ that they will tell the truth and nothing but the truth. And when they're caught lying, we hang them. Then I'll believe that they're telling the truth. But we're pretty soft on the dishonesty of politicians, and so they're incentivized to be dishonest. They make coin from being dishonest. So
Well, that's the system, isn't it? It's the
Yeah.
system says, hey, lie and we'll pretend to believe you.
Yeah, exactly. There's no punishment for lies. It's absurd.
And
People-
you're right. It's encouraged.
Yeah, it's financially incentivized.
Yes.
We live in clown world.
Now we've gotten an update on Greta Thunberg because she was invited to the EU Parliament because they have announced that they're going to be carbon neutral by 2050. But this was not good enough for Saint Greta. And this is the photo here, refusing to
Send Greta the clean.
to shake the hand of European Parliament President David Mara Sassoli because it didn't go far enough. I think what has she said? She wants this to be carbon neutral by 2030. So she decided to snub him. Like, why do we?
Dare you? Title shake my hand.
Why the hell does the European Parliament need the blessing of a 17-year-old?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Send
absolutely.
her back. She must go back.
Yeah, and we're going to bring up another Dave Hiscock article because she's another child human shield by the left, because it's like, how dare you attack a child? That's their thing. And I know that Conservatives is like, we're not attacking her, we're attacking the people behind her. She's a poor victim, but of course we're the Uncuckables here, and we're just going to throw it back at the left and say this is what David Hiscock wrote back in December when she was named Time Person of the Year. Idiot Greta Thunberg named Communist of the Year. And another XYZ author, Ryan Fletcher, described her as an autistic Antifa spawn, inculated with feminism and environmental communism. She is a slightly dumber human equivalent of a sunfish.
That's very unkind. Yeah.
And if we go further down here, this level of gaslighting, though, using a girl from Sweden, land literally being raped by diversity, has another purpose. Greta Thunberg is so obviously retarded, and those who idolize her are so obviously obsessed that we cannot deal with these people rationally.
Well, this is one of the whole problems of politics, is it becomes about people, and all the concentration becomes about that person. So instead of being angry that we're being lied to, we're angry about one 17-year-old girl. And we see this over and over again with politics, is that we're not allowed to talk about big ideas or bad ideas, which is any idea that the media doesn't like. Instead, we're distracted with, oh, what do you think of this politician? What do you think of that? And
well, I think it's a product of the cult of celebrity that they've designed and built in the 20th century with the mechanism of Hollywood and the mass media. They've sort of conned the world into worshipping in the most idolatrous way, worshipping people who have no qualifications, no real intelligence. May be slightly talented in some unique area like acting or music or lying in the case of Greta, we come to worship them like they're gods. They become sort of members of this pantheon that we look up to, and we expect them to solve our problems and speak for us. And it's just not a rational way to view the world, but it's the way that we've been sort of coddled into this childlike view of the world after the wars, after the Great War and World War II, basically wiped out all the good men of Europe and left a whole bunch of orphans who became the boomer generation. A lot of people families were broken and screwed over in those wars, and European societies were weakened, and then they started feeding us the candy, feeding us the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, feeding us the pornography, feeding us the technology, and making us weak and stupid so that we worship these people like they're gods.
Well, I'd say two things. First of all, that this problem goes way back before the 20th century. And secondly, you're quite right when you say that we've got these we're basically encouraged to worship people who are liars. And you think about an actor. Actors are always put up onto our screens, and we see them. We all know them, even if we don't watch their movies. And what's an actor? An actor
They're professional bullshit artists.
Exactly. Someone whose only job is to pretend to be somebody who they're not.
Yeah. Yep.
Which reminds us of politicians.
Yeah, and you're right. This problem has existed as long as civilization has, and probably into pre-civilization. But because it's a problem in the nature of man, it's part of our fallen nature.
That's right.
To worship idols, but it's the technology that's only emerged in the 20th century, particularly the technology of cinema. Cinema has had more of an effect on the psychology of Western civilization than any other medium has, and it's been used. Who owns it? Who runs it? It's been used for evil ends by evil people.
Yeah, you're right.
Now the results of our poll are in, and we're going to show this photo because, well, there was another mass triggering of Greta's supporters when there was Maddie Rose told me that this is an old cartoon which just had the word Greta on it, and the logo of a Canadian oil company called Excite Energy Services was circulated online. The company denied that it was made by them. It could have been made by somebody associated with them. Of course, this is what I was talking about before. The mainstream media thought it was too triggering for us to see it, but of course I don't believe in censoring news. This could get us a strike on YouTube, but I just don't care. After Greta,
Oh, you're going to show it.
Yeah,
I'll look away.
Okay. Yeah, this is the photo here. So it's just a cartoon. It's got the word Greta put on it, and it's got the Excite logo there, and well, it's described as showing the rape of a child, even though she's 17 years old, and that's what a company executive, Doug Sparrow, said. She's not a child; she's 17 years old, and like they wanted the company charged with producing child pornography, but the Canadian Justice Department said no, this doesn't qualify because it's not explicit. It doesn't
That's
show.
right, it's not explicit.
Yeah, it doesn't show an actual assault or anything like this.
Yeah.
And well, this is why we showed it now. And Greta said, this shows that they're getting desperate. And Feminists Online said, I can't believe that all these older men feel they have to need to bully this girl. But the thing is, she wants us to decarbonize all of Western society by 2030. She wants us to have empty supermarkets and basically go back to basically the hunter-gatherer society. Well, we sort of know now the mask has come off, that it's basically to put back a white society.
I think it's perfectly okay to mock her. I don't think it's a good idea to make even cartoon pornography of her. I think that's, I just think that's the degenerate approach to it, and not really going to help the greater cause of Western civilization. And it's lame too. There are plenty, attack her by all means, verbally. Attack her with insults and arguments by all means. Ridicule her by all means, but we don't need to make pornography of her, even if it is a cartoon.
But it's okay to call her a communist idiot, retard.
Sunfish, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, do it.
Yeah, I'm just working out where your limits are.
Well, you found one of them.
I'm just checking the live chat. There's sort of, everyone's sort of, few people were triggered, but yeah, we shall see when we wake up tomorrow whether this thing is...
We still exist. Well, if we don't, we will still exist on rationalrise.tv.
And I'll just get that.
I think
Yeah, I'll just get the DLive link ready for next week as well.
That's right. The booting from YouTube is inevitable, and we are prepared. Like good preppers, we are prepared. We've got our own platform for the archive, and we also have DLive and BitChute, which are supportive of us saying whatever we want and sharing whatever degeneracy we want. But yeah. Bieber Anti-Bullying is saying Tim is happy he triggered people with this porn. I think that's true.
That's by no means like. How can you call that porn? Really?
No, it's not.
Listen,
it's suggestive. It's not.
No, your attitudes about pornography are indicative of a sick society that we have been desensitized for 100 years on this stuff.
How can you say that? You haven't even looked at. You didn't even look at the photo. The cartoon.
I saw it previously. I've seen it Tim shared it in a Signal chat, and I've seen it. And I've seen a more explicit version of it too, right? And I don't like it, and I don't want to look at it again. But here's the thing: we have been desensitized to what is pornography. And if you took one music video from today and you played it to somebody 100 years ago, it would absolutely be classified by any rational person as pornography. What we think is not porn is degenerate porn. We have been so desensitized by these liars and scoundrels who've led us into this cult of celebrity to even pay attention to an idiot sunfish like Greta Thunberg. So it's up to us as men of the West, I think, to have higher standards for ourselves and to resensitize ourselves and become more sensitive to this imagery and say, no, this is not good. It's not wholesome. It's not Christ-like. Let's not promote it. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah. Well, I showed it because it's news, and obviously I thought about it, and given that Greta basically did that snub, made that she was more important, then I sort of thought, yeah, I think that given that the news media were trying to cover up for her the week before, that should, you've made your thoughts clear. And yes, it is quite, I agree, it's extremely crass, but this is how the ideological battle has increased. That basically, if someone throws fire at you, you throw fire back at them.
Well, to quote the great first female president of America, when they go low, we go high.
No, we go lower. We go lower.
No, I'm saying let's go Christ-like. Let's be Christ-like. That's my 2 cents.
A few people in the chat have said that my libertarianism has come out.
Yeah, there are vestigial signs showing, but that's okay, Tim. I still love you.
Yeah, I'm gonna go and cry after the stream's done. That is such a horrid insult. Have we got time to finish the rest of what we've got?
What have we got? Yeah, we got like 17 minutes, and I can just jump straight into my show when we're done. I've already had my slash.
Yeah, well, let's stick on libertarianism for the end of the show.
For a lol, for the lols.
So a lot of people in the chat might know about the Institute of Public Affairs, which is a libertarian free market think tank. In Melbourne, they've got a youth student program called Generation Liberty. And this is the story here from ipa.org.au. This is up here, Renee Gorman. She's the Generation Liberty director. So QUT student and IPA campus coordinator at the University of Queensland, Chris Decker, that's him there, has today lodged a claim at the Queensland Human Rights Commission against the University Student Guild. The basis of the claim is that QUT Student Guild discriminated against Mr. Decker because of his political beliefs, and the Guild breached his human rights because he wanted to book a stall on behalf of Generation Liberty at Market Day operated by the Guild. On January 4, a Guild representative informed him that his application had been refused because a committee of the Guild had decided that your brand does not align with our values. Goes on a bit about Generation Liberty. Renee Gorman says, this is our fight to end censorship of ideas on campus. The Guild discriminated against me because of my political beliefs or activities, and such discrimination is unlawful under the Anti-Discrimination Act 1991. Queensland. It's censoring ideas on campus. I'm making this claim to secure freedom of ideas for all students across Australia. I'm asking for an apology from the Guild and a commitment they won't discriminate in the future. The federal government, the QUT Vice-Chancellor, won't protect freedom of speech on campus. We're left with no choice but to use this law. And a lot of people have pointed out that the irony is that the Institute of Public Affairs has called for the abolition of the Australian Human Rights Commission, and I assume they want all state human rights and equal opportunity commissions abolished, and they've called for a repeal of 18C of the Racial Discrimination Act. And in 2013, they actually campaigned against political opinion being a protected attribute in Commonwealth anti-discrimination laws. But here we have their youth wing in 2019 lodging this discrimination complaint and, well, asking, they haven't said demanding, asking for an apology from the Guild. And so, of course, there's been a pile-on because the Institute of Public Affairs they're hated by a lot of people. And yeah, I can see the contradiction there, but there is also, if you've got an unjust system, why not just try and use it to your advantage?
Oh, absolutely. I think that they're right to do what they're doing because we have to use their weapons against them. And this was brought in not to make a fairer world. It was used it was created as a weapon.
Yep.
So we have to...
I agree. Like, lawfare is the answer in a lot of cases, is that, you know, if there are legal structures in place that can give us wins, then we should be using them. We should be using them to the fullest. It doesn't mean that the laws or the ways the laws have been generated are right or that they should exist. But if they're there and they can offer us some protection or some victory, then we should use whatever weapons are available. This is a culture war and an ideological war, and we have to use whatever weapons are available. So they're not wrong to be taking that action, and maybe it's hypocritical or antithetical to their other stated beliefs, but I don't care, about that so much. I got to say, I really like Renee. I think she's a really great chick. I have a lot of affection for Renee. I think she's cool, and I think. The thing is, there's a level of denial in the libertarian movement about just how far down the road of Marxism we already are. So they're right to try to use the weapons that are available to them, but it's often, their approach is often an impotent effort. They're asking for an apology. They're not going to get one. They're not going to get one. And even if they do today, a week down the road, there's going to be more discrimination against anyone who's not a Marxist. And it's just going to get worse. And we need bigger weapons than those particular weapons. So I don't begrudge them wanting to fight this little issue in their own little way with the little weapons that are available to them. But I don't see it succeeding or having much impact on the culture war.
It's obviously the IPA, they're good at generating publicity. They were especially effective during the Gillard years, not just on 18C, but on the carbon tax, and a lot of their staff are regulars on Sky News, on ABC TV and radio, which their audience hates, and on Macquarie radio as well. So they get out there. And there was also another cause the IPA took up. This is another thing they're good at, is crowdfunding. They're the only basically conservative organisation that can do it. They crowdfunded Peter Ridd's unfair dismissal case against James Cook University because he disputed that the Great Barrier Reef was going extinct, even though the IPA has a workplace law reform unit which advocates that unfair dismissal laws should be abolished. But I haven't looked at this case too closely. It could be that there was something in his contract or something, but you sort of see there that the IPA has already decided that, Liberal Party, they're too cuck to stand for free speech. I mean, we had David Southwick, who's the state Liberal member for Caulfield, who released a Facebook video urging all his Facebook followers to sign a petition to ban the swastika, which is banning things is...
That's racist against Hindus. More racism against Hindus.
Yes. Yeah, true. But it just shows you there that the allegation that the IPA controls Liberal Party policy is complete bullshit, and so the IPA is like, well, since we can't influence the Liberal Party, let's just use the apparatuses that the left have done to basically turn it against them and be a real pain to them.
And that's a point I'd like to make that James said. James talked about Marxism and communism, but the Liberal Party is a liberal party. The Labor Party is a liberal party. The Greens are a liberal party. The Nationals are a liberal party. Our enemy is liberalism. Liberalism is the problem, because liberalism is the system. And talking about swastikas, I worked with a guy who made model aeroplanes. That was his hobby. And he said that he'd get model kits from Europe. And in a lot of European countries, France, Germany, Austria, it's illegal to sell the swastika. But of course, if you're going to build a World War II German plane, on the tail, it has a swastika. So what do? So what you do is you send your money off to a company in Britain who sends you 100 swastika decals. So instead of having 2, you now have 98 more than you need, so that you can put it onto your plane. Now you're a
criminal.
But I mean, that's the bizarre things that happens. You know, people think, oh, it's about, you know, getting rid of radical politics. Well, you know, there's still neo-Nazis in Europe. It didn't get rid of them, and it's not going to.
Oh, it's creating them. This is the thing. They're forcing Europeans into a corner where we're going to have to start looking at, why did this happen last time? And why are they so insistent that we don't be Nazis? What were the Nazis really up to? Let's have a look at that. And you don't want that to start happening because, you know.
We have got a super chat on Entropy from Pissy Leaks Pete for $20 Australian. Thank you. Tim, looks like you're saving up for a new pink house. Just saying, a tribute to Tommy Robinson as a result of his daughter being groped. That was allegedly being pinched on the bottom by a middle-aged man. By the way, you're better off being a toilet paper dealer as drugs are getting cheaper, and he's provided a link to his latest on his PC Leaks Peak channel, which I'll put in the live chat. Thank you for that. And I've just launched a poll in Entropy, even though we've only got 8 minutes until James' show starts. Should I burn my pink shirt? Because it seems to have triggered people a lot more than the actual photo that we shown before. It's been a real point. But it is actually red, but it comes across on the screen as pink. So should I burn it?
Pink.
Yeah.
We'll make a black shirt of you yet, brother.
Do you think that? Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's always been the that blue is for boys, pink is for girls. But so there's no way with that for me to reclaim pink.
Nah, don't reclaim pink. Just wear a black shirt.
I have got a blue car, so that is a boy's colour, and it's not white, so I can't be accused of racism.
Well, it's time to be a man, Tim. Forget about boys' colours. It's time to be a man.
I think we should do what James has done and wear a monogram.
Yeah,
what?
Yeah.
JFH.
Coming up in 7 minutes at Rationalise TV on YouTube. Straight after this.
And Portfield Cop, for fuck's sake, not this question again. Great guest with Moncrieff. Mr. Moncrieff, what is your favourite Jean-Claude Van
Damme
film?
Legionnaire, which is where
awesome.
he joins.
Straight answer.
Where he joins the Foreign Legion in the 1920s.
That sounds awesome. I've never actually watched a Jean-Claude Van Damme film. I've got it as far as I remember. I've seen lots of clips and trailers at the front of Arnold Schwarzenegger films, but never actually watched the films.
Before we'll wrap up after this, your thoughts on, I'm not sure if you followed that story of that man pinching Tommy Robinson's 8-year-old daughter's bottom at a public swimming pool. He said that he did it by mistake. Tommy tried to sort of make a citizen's arrest before the police arrived there in 3 hours, but he tried to escape, and so Tommy obviously was quite angry and hit him, and so Tommy was charged with common assault. But the mainstream media, which we're all supposed to be sobbing for, they said that Tommy Robinson assaults a guest at a pool.
I don't trust Tommy Robinson as far as I could throw him. So I'm not going to form an opinion about this incident because there's no until there's video evidence or until and I don't want him to put his daughter on display any more than he already has with this incident. So I have to remain agnostic, but I don't trust him.
So I disagree. I think the man's gone to jail. I think he's pretty much proved his trustworthiness, and he might not agree
Mandela
with everything.
Went to jail. Was he trustworthy?
Yeah, but Mandela wasn't on our side, and we know that.
Well, I'm saying I don't.
And
trust
Tommy Robinson went to jail for basically doing what you and I agree with.
Yeah. I'm suspicious of the whole entity that is Tommy Robinson. I'll leave it at that.
I just think that's very uncharitable.
Well, I'm a skeptic, so maybe so. I just don't. Again, as I said earlier, I don't think anyone should trust us on face value. I think you should trust the people that you have a personal relationship with, and that you genuinely know. And we don't know people online. I don't know any of the people in the chat. I don't know. I feel I have. Although I'm not saying you can't form a personal relationship online, because I feel I know Tim enough, I know Dave enough, I know, and hopefully I'll get to know you as well, Mark, over time. But what I'm saying is that spectators of these celebrity alt media personalities should not trust them on face value. And there's always a narrative going on, and it's always wise to follow the money and see who supports the people who are the big names and who are making the big controversies. And I haven't seen enough evidence for me to trust Tommy Robinson, and I've seen enough for me to be suspicious of him. I don't have to be charitable to him. He's not my friend.
Well, you should be charitable to people who aren't your friends. I'd hope that your friends you would be much more than charitable to.
Oh, yeah, certainly. But I'm allowed to be suspicious of people's intentions, especially when they are always in the limelight and always getting so much mainstream media attention and seeming to distract us from the more important issues. Tommy's a distraction from the more important issues.
There are lots of things that are distractions, but I don't think that necessarily makes him a bad thing.
I think he might be a deliberately contrived distraction. They want to have their players and their puppets on all sides. So I think he might be one of those. And I don't know. It's not an accusation. I'm just saying I'm suspicious.
Well, we're definitely on different sides there.
Well, we looked at this incident on Tuesday's Uncuckables, where I just provided I didn't make a judgment on Tommy as a person, because he has done a lot of good. There are some questionable things, but I just made a judgment on the facts of this, that it seemed a very... that this, if it did happen as it did, that's just something you don't like. It's definitely, like TR News described him as a child molester pedophile. This guy he's not. He's certainly a creep, and he's touched a little girl inappropriately.
Allegedly.
But sort of the facts of it, it's sort of, it's very hard to believe that sort of this was what he did was innocent, but it is a stretch to call him a pedophile child molester. That's way too far.
And it maybe I don't know, because I'm a parent too, and I certainly would be angry if anything like that happened to one of my children. I'd certainly have violent urges, but maybe a guy who's just come out of jail, who really, really cares about his family, ought to be having some self-restraint. Ought to be maybe not going out to the municipal local pool with his family.
That's just absurd. That's absurd. I mean,
He's allowed
to go out in public And if
I'm
someone,
not saying he shouldn't be allowed.
you are saying that. You are saying that.
No,
You're saying
I'm not.
you just said it. You just said he shouldn't
no.
go to the public pool. Don't
No, I
deny
didn't
what you
say
just
that.
said. You did
No,
say
you're
it.
Mark,
No,
calm down.
no. What you said was he shouldn't be going out in public. He shouldn't be going to the public pool. That's exactly what you said, and
I
that's
said
wrong.
maybe he should have some self-restraint and also be aware of the fact that he is a target.
Don't play word games. Don't play word games. That's what you said.
James did say he shouldn't go to the pool.
That someone who touches his daughter, he should just be cool with it. No, he shouldn't be.
Can I qualify my remark, Mark, or would you like to keep yelling at me?
I think what James said.
May I qualify my remark without being yelled at?
Okay, go for it, James.
Great. As a father, if I had been to jail and put my family through that kind of suffering, it would be my absolute priority to not put myself or my family in any other kind of situation that would possibly throw me back in jail. All right? He got himself arrested because he lacked the self-restraint to realize the bigger picture here. Sure, a guy touching your child in a sexually inappropriate way is horrible. The guy should be picked up by the police. It absolutely should be reported. But Tommy getting into a violent scuffle with him when he's already a target and he's already on parole is going to fuck his family up a lot more than his daughter getting her butt pinched. He made a stupid, hot-headed decision in that moment. And that's why I'm saying that a man who's in that precarious a situation, who cares about his family, ought to have self-restraint and do everything possible to avoid a situation where he's going to cause his family more harm. His family should be more important to him than justice, than making a scene, than getting the guy put in jail. Because if Tommy goes to jail, his family loses. And I think he's an idiot for reacting in the way that he did, given his situation. Is that a fair remark?
I don't agree with that at all.
Okay.
Oh, we got quite heated at the end there. That was quite unexpected. But
and the reason I yelled is because I had to get over you. That's the problem. That's why I don't like this format.
Which format?
Where everyone's talking.
Oh, okay, no, you weren't talking over the top of each other. I thought we got there in the end, but the audience loved it. Yeah, they're all quite interested in it. But we've gone over time. Now it's time for your show. James will all.
Oh, sorry about that, James. I didn't realise we're going.
No, that's fine. No, it's all good. All good. I enjoyed it. I enjoy a good disagreement.
So head on over to the Rational Rise TV YouTube channel. That's where James will be live. What's the topic for tonight?
Legacy of the Vikings. Legacy of the Vikings. Spoiler, it's not actually about Vikings, but you'll see why when you get there, folks.
And Mark, to see the Melbourne Traditionalists
Melbourne Traditionalists is on YouTube at the moment, so just type in Melbourne Traditionalists, and you can also catch more of my thinking at Upon Hope, which is my blog.
And of course, to see my WilmsFront program, you can go to my Tim Wilms YouTube channel. The links to my social media and podcasts are at timwilms.com. And of course, you can catch up with the latest commentary on the Unshackled.net. I'll be back tomorrow, 6 p.m. Melbourne time on the Unshackled's YouTube channel for Trad Tasman Talk. It's the new time, a new day, and new name as well, because what tipped Dewey over the edge to change it to Trad Tasman Talk was the fact that the ABC ran with the segment Trans Tasman Talks when Jacinta Ardern met with Scott Morrison. I tell you, your exchange there it was mild compared to what's going on between Australia and New Zealand at the moment. There wasn't just Ardern's spray at ScoMo himself, but Winston Peters, Deputy Prime Minister, saying that they're the biggest criminal that we've ever had in New Zealand is an Australian import. So don't keep going on about Kiwi criminals. So that was sort of like, ooh. So there'll be a lot to, and yeah, of course, even though it's Trad Tasman talk, I'm Australia first, Due is New Zealand first. So yeah, always makes for we're nationalists at the end of the day. So there'll be a lot to talk about.
Awesome. Well, good show tonight, guys, and the folks in the chats have enjoyed themselves. And Mark, great to meet you, and good to bounce ideas back and forth. Some of them hotter than others, but yeah, good sport, good fun.
Thank you, James.
All right. Good night,
Great
everybody.
meeting you.
Thanks for
Bye,
watching.
Okay. Good night.